All right, so here we are in the front of the Mini. As you can see, you know, I'm about 5'9", and I've got plenty of room up here. I can sit here very comfortably. I can move the seat up as far as I want. I can move it back. Obviously, I can adjust the steering wheels. We've got the ability to recline or not, as far back as you want, or in front, a little more upright. And you can crank this lever to move the seat up and down, to get a height level that you're comfortable with. So this is where I would normally sit, very comfortable. Um, and the passengers obviously got all the same flexibility as you do up here as well. Um, the one thing is, obviously, if you're carrying passengers in the back, you may need to sit up a little further, to give them a comfortable ride in the back. But on short trips, especially for a vehicle like this that's made for short trips, everybody does have plenty of leg room. So we'll hop in the back in a second and show you that. And the one thing about the seat controls, they are manual, and I think the only reason Mini did that was to save on some weight, to maybe increase some of the mileage there. Other than that, we've got storage up here. You've got the glove box, pretty standard size, can fit a lot of stuff in there, like your manuals, your insurance, and a few other items. The doors have storage in the doors on both sides. You've got some storage here in the middle, armrest, unless you opt for the charging pad. And then there's some storage down here and two cup holders. So all in all, pretty good and comfortable feel here. So let's go over to the back and I'll show you how that looks kind of at this seated position, so you can see how much leg room's back there. All right, so here we are in the back, and as you can see at the seated position that I would normally drive at, maybe like a half an inch more forward than I would normally do, I've got plenty of leg room back here. And again, I'm 5'9", so I can sit back here comfortably. Obviously, I'm not going to be crossing my legs or anything like that, but for a short trip, I'd be really comfortable. And we've got 3 cup holders back here. Now, the back seat actually is just made for 2 people. I mean, you could squeeze a third in here, but you're not really supposed to. There's only belts for 2. And you've kind of got this bump in the middle. But the seats are very comfortable. They're shaped kind of for the body. They're very much like front seats, and have the same leather and kind of cloth in this particular vehicle. And as you can see, we've got a booster in here. So I have hauled my kids in and around here, one in a larger booster and one in a smaller one. And they can get in and out comfortably, for school drop-offs and things like that. They're able to open the door from the back. Closing the seat is real easy, as you can see there. And then if you want to open it, there's just a handle right here. So you can do that from the front seat. The kids can do that from the back, obviously, if they're big enough. And then you can even reach over and help them with the door if you don't need to get out. But yeah, this has been very functional, even for a family of 4 with 2 smaller kids. And then for shorter trips, if you got larger kids or even adults, you can get by. So very comfortable back here. All right, so here we are at the back of the Mini. And other than the passenger room in the front, this is probably the second most important thing, is how much stuff can I fit in here. Now, obviously, if you're getting a Mini, you're not getting it necessarily to haul around a bunch of stuff in the back. But surprisingly, since it is a hatchback and you can drop the seats down, you can fit more stuff in here than you would think. Obviously, assuming you're not needing to carry passengers in the back seat. The other thing to consider with the Mini is you can get it with roof rails, which I would always recommend you do. Their crossbars are super easy to use. I'd recommend getting the Mini branded crossbars with the factory installed roof rails, just for any additional fall-over storage. So here we go. We'll open the boot, as they call it. And one of the things I wanted to point out with the Mini, so I've got the seats kind of pushed up. The Mini's got these little levers that you can drop down, and that'll be in a normal seated position. So we'll get these seats back to their normal seated position and see what we can fit. So I like to always test it out with kind of the most common things that folks would want to put in a vehicle. One of them is obviously a cooler. This is the Yeti 35. And this, if you put it in there, you're not going to quite fit. You're going to start hitting the edge of the cooler when you try to close it. But when you use those little levers, it's just a little metal lever that goes into a slot in the back of the seat, which just kind of keeps the seat up further. Now, obviously, you're not going to want people to sit in those seats if you're in this mode. They can. It's going to be a little uncomfortable. So if you need to do it for a short trip, that's all right. Now, your cooler fits in there fine, and you can close the boot. So we know we can get that cooler in there. The other thing I always like to test, since we've got kids, is our stroller. And now I'm just doing these as I do them. I haven't done these before in here. So we'll figure it out together. Stroller. Yeah, maybe, let's see. You can probably get in here like this. And you can get that stroller in there. Yeah, that's going to close just fine. So you can get an umbrella stroller into your vehicle. Obviously, the next most common thing that folks would probably move around in the Mini is luggage. Here you got a full-size suitcase. That's going to fit in there, and that'll fit in there even with the seats pulled back. Now, obviously, if you got one full-size suitcase, you maybe could stack a carry-on on top of that. Let's see if this thing fits upright. No, upright's not going to work on a typical full-size suitcase. You can definitely fit a couple of carry-ons upright like that. Actually, several of them if you hit them side by side. So that's that. And then golf clubs. Now these clubs I can already tell you aren't going to fit. So what we'll do is we'll drop the seats down. And that's where the storage space on the Mini really opens up. And one of the cool things about the Mini is it does have a little pad here to where you can raise it and kind of flatten the ground. Now, obviously, if you're doing that, you're going to be able to fit in multiple full-size suitcases. You're going to be able to get the cooler and the stroller in, which we already got in. Your clubs are going to fit, no problem. You know, and you can also just knock down. We've got I'd say it's a 60-40 split, maybe a 66-33. So you don't necessarily need to knock both seats down to get something like clubs or additional suitcases in. So those are going to fit in there. And then the last thing I always like to try is, can I get my ladder in there? So here we've got a 6-foot ladder. There go my clubs. We've got this 6-foot ladder. And let's see. Yeah, you have to get creative. Maybe put some cloth down on your seat so you don't mess them up. But you can get a 6-foot ladder into a Mini. Obviously, you're going to want to be careful when you're doing that. You don't want it to slide and hit your head while you're driving. But if you need to get something that long moved, you can. And if you want, you can even turn it sideways and go through the middle on your armrest. But that's just getting creative. But that's just to show you that even for a small vehicle, there is a decent amount of storage back there. So that's the boot of the Mini. With the seats up, you're looking at about 8.7 to 9 cubic feet. With the seats down, you bump up all the way up to like 30 cubic feet of storage. So that's pretty good. So for a small car, you've got some options. It's not as constraining as you might think, especially if you don't need to haul people in the back while you're moving stuff around. All right, well, I hope that helped show you some of the storage capabilities of the Mini, and you're probably wondering, what about the front? Well, the Mini is not a ground-up EV, so what BMW Mini did was they put the motor and everything in the front where the engine normally would have been. So there's no front. You open that up, it almost looks just like a normal Mini. And the batteries obviously are on the bottom of the vehicle. So yeah, no frunk on this one, unfortunately, but as you can see, plenty of leg room for passengers inside, easy to get in and out of for a small vehicle. And in the back, if you drop the seats down, you can really fit a bunch of stuff in there and get around. So for a in-town kind of runabout vehicle where you might need to move groceries, maybe get to the airport and get back and move bags and things like that, do the occasional home improvement project, the Mini will be just fine, to be honest. So thanks for watching the video, and hit me up with any questions in the comments, and hope you liked watching. Thanks.